Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Jennie Hinchcliff. I'm the exhibitions manager for the San Francisco Center for the Book. I'm one of the curators of the retro introspection exhibit that's currently on display at the center, even though our doors are temporarily closed to the public right now. My co-curator is Maureen Forys, who's also on this conversation tonight with us, and together we'll be having a conversation with Sarah Bryant, who we're so excited to talk to about her work in the exhibit called The Radiant Republic. Before we start, just a couple of housekeeping things. What I'm going to say is that if you could keep your audio muted for the duration of the conversation, that would be great. And also if you could turn off your video feed, that would be helpful too, because it gets a little distracting and we want to keep the distractions down to a minimum so that we can focus on the conversation. And like I mentioned before, if you have questions, we'll do a Q&A at the end of the presentation, and you can ask your questions using the chat feature that's on the toolbar down below on the Zoom sort of platform. So we will also be having a video of the book, The Radiant Republic, and there will be a slideshow as well, so there will be a little bit of screen sharing going on, so you know. So without further ado, I'm going to read a little bit about Sarah. First I'm going to admit these last two people. All right. And so what I'll say about Sarah Bryant, many of you know her work, The Radiant Republic. We're excited to have her speaking about that book this evening. Sarah has produced artist books under the name Big Jump Press since 2005. These books use analytical imagery and reference material to address topics ranging from archives and self-representation to population mapping and urban planning. Her work can be found in dozens of libraries and private collections, including the Library of Congress, the New York Public Library, and the Yale Arts Library. She is currently assistant professor at the University of Alabama, where she teaches letterpress for the MFA Book Arts program. Sarah, we're so excited to have you here this evening. Thank you. Maureen and I are really excited.
I'm excited too.
Yay.
This is like my most exciting night for ages.
Wow, it's super exciting. So we're thrilled to have your work in retro introspection. Thank you so much for exhibiting with us. It's really fantastic.
It's very exciting to be able to share it up close, even if remote, with all of you. It's been an interesting transition, but I think we're doing pretty well. This is the second of our artist talks. We've got a couple more planned. And I think every time we get a little better. So Jennie has prepared some pretty amazing imagery to go along with the questions we're going to have tonight. And I thought we would just start with talking a bit about the book. And so, Sarah, I was hoping you could talk a little bit about what the motivating idea behind The Radiant Republic is, was, and how it came into fruition.
Yes, I would be happy to talk about that. And I'm also, I just wanted to thank you so much for inviting me to do this. It is, you know, these are kind of weird times, so I'm really happy to talk about my work, and it's really nice to see so many people that I know here in this weird house that we're in, people who would like never ever all be in the same place unless I like got married again, I guess, maybe. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being awake, those of you who are in places that are kind of far away. I started working on this book in 2016. I had just moved from England to Alabama, and I was in England. I left in August, early August, just after becoming a citizen there, which was great, the day before the Brexit vote, which was not so great. So there, it kind of felt really devastating to be there at that time. And then we moved to Alabama, you know, leading up to the election in 2016. And so there were just a lot of different ways that I think for most people, or for a lot of people, the world felt very, I don't know, uncertain. Things were kind of shifting in a kind of devastating way for us. So, so I was thinking about those things, as many of us were, and I was also thinking about how fragile the idea of truth was, or, you know, there were just I was having a lot of different thoughts about things that I had sort of felt confident about earlier and I lost confidence in. And so that made me start thinking about the idea of an ideal, like an object of perfection, which is why I started thinking about the Platonic solids, which are what are in this book. And so the thinking process behind the book started with this idea of trying to make a perfect object, or trying to make a perfect thing, because Platonic solids are these, you know, they're kind of iconic. They are equilateral shapes set at equal angles. So they have this, you know, there's this kind of myth built up around them, these perfect things, but you can't build something that's perfect, you know. And so I wanted to kind of play around with making these shapes out of templates that you can find all over the internet, and then crumpling them up and doing all kinds of things like that. So I was thinking about that. And then at the same time, I started sort of reading around different subjects, and I went to Plato first, because his Timaeus is a dialogue that specifically addresses the Platonic solids. So I thought, okay, well, let's see what this is all about. So I was there, hovering around there for a while, and then I hopped up and out and into the Republic. For those of you who maybe don't know much about this book, I should say that the text of this project, the book is a cyclical project about kind of city building and city destruction, and the kind of the impulse to build a perfect city or design a moral city. And so I combined, to form the narrative, I combined text that I culled from two sources, and one was Plato's Republic, and the other was Le Corbusier's Radiant City. So I'll talk in a second, I'll talk about how I landed there. But so I started by reading Plato, went to the Republic, and at the same time, a friend of mine who taught in the architecture department at Hobart William Smith, named Kieran Macker, she suggested that I read a book called On Weathering, The Life of Buildings in Time, which is all about the final stage of construction, which is the stage that's after the building has been completed and the earth starts to take its toll on that building. Right. And so there were a lot of images of kind of brutalist 20th century architecture, a lot of cement shapes, a lot of, you know, and then of course that takes me right to Le Corbusier, who is also interested in Plato's Republic and who also wrote a text. Both of these texts, written 2,000 years apart, were about using the city as a way of prescribing ethical behavior, kind of, you know, like, you know, for Plato's Republic, it's a metaphor, sort of. Yeah. And for Le Corbusier, he really wanted to raise the city of Paris and build something that would force people into a pattern of behavior. So there were ways that I saw these two texts going together, partly because of just those very basic kind of themes, but also because the language actually was weirdly, you know, now that I look at this text, it's harder for me to parse what came from Le Corbusier and what came from Plato, unless maybe if it says something about like a dishwasher or a housewife, then I kind of have a sense of where that came from. But a lot of the language works together, and it may be about like the time period when they were translated, you know. But there were and there were also these moments. They both have this way of using the text, like weaponizing the text. Oh, yeah. So, for example, the Socratic method, I mean, maybe it's a bit weird to call the Socratic method like a weapon. but, you know, I mean, I could create a dialogue between two people and make my point. You know what I mean? So, you know, there are laws with considering that a method of getting at truth, you know? Yeah. So that's interesting. On the other hand, in the Radiant City, Le Corbusier, he's like battering you with all capital letters and like huge declarations of like, oh my God, like the world is sick. We are being ruled by cowardice. Like, oh my God. So the way, but particularly for me, the way that he was using like really just like typographic elements to to kind of batter you, get you,
Yeah.
you know, so the all caps, the italics, the bolds. And then on the other side, you've got the Socratic method. Like, do you not agree? Does it not follow?
Right.
You know, am I not right? And so just,
Right.
you know, both of these texts are just like kind of making you, they're just getting you in line, you know.
Yeah,
And
there's a real push-pull that
really
happens with
is.
this test,
Yeah.
with the text, you know.
Yeah.
so I
So
think
it's-
that they seem to go pretty naturally together, and they were
Mhm.
talking about these things that I was interested in. The idea that they were
Yeah.
2,000 years apart meant that I could start envisioning them sort of as a cycle, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, so
Right.
that's where the project really started to get its legs. And so I
Yeah.
created these scenes using the Platonic solids. I was building them out of paper,
Mhm. Oh,
photographing them in
Nice.
different orientations.
yeah.
And then I was kind of creating this sort of landscape that is also cyclical. So the landscape, so the text is set into 5 parts, bound separately.
Mhm.
In fact, maybe I should just read a part.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Be fantastic.
If
Yeah.
I get off the track or I talk a little too long about one thing, just please rein me in. You know, Zoom is not my chosen. I'm sure it's not any of our chosen methods.
We would love to hear you read from your work, Sarah.
Okay. Thank you.
That would be great.
That makes me feel better. So I'll read a little bit from part 2, and then
Yeah.
I'll read a little bit from part 4, I think. I won't
Super.
read the whole thing. They're not very
Yeah.
long. Can people see me right now, or am I invisible? That's all that
They can't see you.
They can. Okay, it's fine. That's fine. It's good. I just wanted to make sure. If I hold something up, I don't want to be, you know, holding it up just for my own sake.
No, we'll all
Okay,
see.
thank you. Thank you. I got the text there. All right, part 2. The cities of the world are living in an anguish of uncertainty. There is no freedom for men in this present age, only slavery. The world is sick. A readjustment has become necessary. And now we are, we think, constructing the happy city, not in a partial way by making happy a few people in it, but by making the whole city happy. It will be technical and rigorously precise. The plan has been drawn up by serene and lucid minds. It has taken account of nothing but human truths. Once our city is well started, it goes on growing as a circle round itself. The intersections shown here are all perfect. I have put the roads up in the air 5 meters above ground level. Most of the city streets will now be inside the buildings. I'll skip a bit. Home or city, it is all the same thing, a gift to us all from our modern technology. It is the product of mathematics and machines. Where in it shall we find justice and injustice? We must use the results of modern technical triumphs to set man free. Authority must now step in, patriarchal authority, the authority of a father concerned for his children. Now, do you understand? The task before us is to satisfy men's hearts. They're also, I mean, not surprisingly, both of these texts are profoundly male. And while that is really no surprise at all, given the time periods in which they were written, it does not, you know, knowing that context does not stop it from making me feel quite detached from the text, you know, excluded from the text. So that was kind of a reaction I was having to both of them, and another way that they kind of meshed together for me. It's all men this and man must that. Okay, so I'll read a little bit now from part 4. The world is not coming to an end. The world is coming back to life. Do you think that we should always try to avoid the possibilities of danger? City planning is once more an adjunct to the science of war. Does not the business of war seem a matter of craftsmanship? And is not efficiency in war more important than anything else? Both sexes will go to war together and will take with them such of the children as are strong enough. The coming war will be a chemical war, a bacteriological war. Death will come from the skies. Every creature fights more bravely in the presence of its offspring. The population of the city has risen to 5 million. How many of those 5 million are simply a dead weight on the city, an obstacle, a black clot of misery, of failure, of human garbage? The daily activities of modern man, a life of ugly stupidity. Such a man is useless to himself and to the state. Morality is as fragile as a bubble. Is it not obvious that the older men must rule and the younger be ruled? Good men show themselves in youth to be simple-minded and easily deceived by the wicked. A noble youth and a well-bred dog are very much alike. They are the products of our age. Nothing that is good is harmful, is it? We shall say that a man is just in the manner in which a city is just. Do you not agree? Am I not right?
Wow.
And so just to say quickly on top of that text, that the text operates in a circle. So it begins with, we must build a city, and it ends with, we must build a city. And the imagery is also cyclical. So each part of this book, if people can see me, and I know there's a video, but each part of the book has one page of text, and then one image, and then kind of a ghost of the following text to come. And so the imagery is cyclical, and it links back to itself. So part 2 links to part 3, links to part 4, links to part 5, links to part 1. So it kind of goes around and around and around.
Do you want me to show the video, Sarah?
Sure.
And you can talk
sure.
over it? Yeah, you can sort of talk us through
that would be great.
Cyclical nature. Yeah, so we'll start this. Alrighty. And okay, so here we go. This is what you're viewing on your screen right now. We're sharing a video of the Radiant Republic. I have to hit play, which I have just done. All right, there we go.
So the books, there are 5 booklets, as I said, and they're held by just a kind of a band, and they sit on top of a pane of glass under which there are cement platonic solid forms. There are 5 platonic solids. I didn't use them all. I didn't really feel the need to have all 5 solids. That seems a bit tidy, but I did want to have kind of a few of them. The other thing about the solids is that they're often used as dice, so they have this connection to the idea of fairness and also chance. So that had a connection for me as well. And I wanted to use these materials, the wood, the glass, the cement, because, I mean, of course, this is a building book. This is a book about architecture and a book about, I wanted to use those materials for that reason.
Yeah.
And the shapes themselves, I mean, it's so common to make these books and to think people are going to like play with them, which I hope they do, but also, I don't know to what extent people will. But what I wanted was to have people build with the blocks, to build a city. And I had an exhibition in Huntsville recently that I got. I had this opportunity, it was just for this book, or there was a whole part of the room that was just for this book. So I built this gigantic sandbox, and I had, I don't know how many dozens of the shapes in the sandbox, and I cast some of them bigger than they are in the book.
Wow.
And I have all these pictures of students at Huntsville like going and building with them. So it was like kind of a dream come true, to see that they actually were building cities and using them kind of playfully, but there's that urge there's an urge to build, an urge to snap things together in a particular way.
Well, and one of the things that I feel is so crucial to this piece and experiencing it in person is the materials. Yeah. I mean, just from start to finish with the, the cement solids, and then the wooden box, you have the glass that lifts out, you have this really gorgeous, is the paper for the cover pamphlets, is that wax?
It's not, it's a flat paper, and it was made at the Morgan Conservatory. I commissioned it from Tom Balbo and the people at Morgan. And so I wanted the flax because it may be very difficult to see on the screen, but the wrappers or the covers for all these pamphlets are scored and folded and creased and into kind of geometric patterns so that, you know, hopefully when you're opening the book or one of those kind of covers, it kind of comes away very structurally.
Right.
And the flax holds that line, that white line. It gets this beautiful crease. And it's just a feature of that material, which is why I elected to use it. So that came from the Morgan, which is such a great institution. And the box, I just want to give a shout out to Sarah Pike, Freefall Laser, who laser cut the components for the box. So she shipped me the components, and then I sanded them forever and glued them together and all that kind of stuff. And we worked together to design the box. But she's a really great resource to artists who don't have access to a laser cutter. So I had her help there. I think whenever you're doing this project, I was in the tall grass. I don't know how to cast cement. I don't know how to make a wooden box. So it took a lot of kind of reaching out to the community to solve some of those puzzles for myself so that I could make the book work the way that I wanted it to.
Yeah.
It was the first time you had ever worked with cement?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did, I ended up, you know, I tried to find a lot of different, I so did not want to cast these myself. I was like, I gotta find someone to help me do it. And in the end, I had to do it myself. But I found a way with a good friend of how to make it work. And so I did it, you know, I'll be doing it for a while, but I found a way to make it work. So I feel proud of that. I mean, every project hopefully makes me do something that I don't know how to do so that I can learn it and do it later. Although I'm never going to cast them in again for book.
Did you say you had the molds with you?
I do, yeah. So
can you show us?
It's kind of like showing people.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little embarrassing to show people the molds because it's like showing people the inside of your closet. You know, but
we won't tell. It's fine.
I can see that little recording sign up there, so I know. You know. So I made these molds out of placemats, right? So I made the molds the same way that I made the shapes. I just kind of reversed where the kind of seams were. So when I made the paper shapes, all the tabs went on the inside, and now I developed a system where I lined the pieces with packing tape. Boy, I might even have, whatever. I don't know what's back there. But I lined the pieces with packing tape in like 3 different kind of ways. And then I was able to like pop them together, cast, and then break them apart and use them again. You know?
Gosh. Okay.
So I do have to remake the molds every now and then because they don't, you know, they're not professionally made. So.
Are they plastic placemats?
Yeah, they're plastic placemats. So it's just worked so well. Like I started doing it with cardboard, and of course the moisture makes that not really tenable over long, you know, casting. And each box has 9 forms each, and then there's 50 copies of the book. So it's a lot of casting.
Oh my gosh,
there are 50 copies right now. Like maybe one day there'll be 50 copies, but right now there's 25. But yeah, that's it. So I've got, you know, this little guy, this guy.
They're amazing.
They
are amazing.
Also lined with packing tape to keep the moisture out of the balsa wood.
Right.
So it worked out, and it was really very fortunate because I was kind of down to the wire trying to get someone else to make the molds or someone else to cast the forms, and in the end, it was like I just ran out of time, and happened to have a very good friend who was a furniture person through a company called Miles and May in upstate New York, and he uses concrete. He and his partner use concrete to do all kinds of stuff. So it was just we kind of hit on it together at the same moment. Like, it could just. Someone's asking how heavy the box is, and it's like it's like a little over 8 pounds. It's like a baby. It's like 8 pounds, 6 ounces, kind of, you know. It's under 10
pounds. To tell you, it's heavy.
It's very weighty. You feel the weight of the work.
Yeah, exactly.
What was your timeline? You said you were running out of time. You said, you know, you sort of started as a reaction to what was going on with politics
and it
America.
Took me a long time to like get it going because, you know, I had just moved and everything was crazy, and I'd started a new job, and so it was sort of a slow burn for a while. But Julie Chen invited me to participate in an exhibition at Berkeley at the Environmental Library.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It was just happening around Codex time last time.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and it was all about, I wish I could remember the title of the exhibition, but it was like about buildings and structure.
Yes.
So
I
perfect.
can't remember the title of the exhibition, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was all about urban architecture and mapping
Yeah.
and city
And so
planning.
She invited me to participate without knowing what I was working on, and I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, well,
wow.
I just happen to be making a book about that." So but then I had to get it done for that, so that the shape for the last thing. So that was I think that opened, and maybe I had to ship it in December before Codex, and I like in November before Codex, I was like, "How do I make these shapes?"
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Definitely. Yeah. Deadlines are the mother of invention for sure. So I guess Maureen and I are both curious about kind of where your studio practice is at now and what you're up to.
Well, I mean, right now, I don't have a studio practice because everything is wild, right? So I have a 4-year-old, and my partner, Ben, and I, we're really lucky because we have, like, Ben teaches piano and I teach for the university. We have some flexibility, but, but we have Milo. So we're swapping out, and so that means that I don't have that much time. And I've had to re-envision, as so many people have, what my courses are going to look like as somebody who teaches letterpress. So all of my time has been about prep, teaching, dealing with, like, the kind of debris of university employment, and then time's up,
Right, yeah.
But when we first kind of closed, I had a week where Ben was kind of hanging with Milo and I was in my studio working, I think probably just because I was so freaked out, and I was just using my hands. But the thing is that I happen to have this project that things will get easier for me in the studio in the summer. So I'm anticipating getting back to, like, a routine down in my basement, which is where I am. But I happen to be working on a project right now that is so weirdly connected to being at home. And I started working on it about a year ago. And I went, so I'm working on this thing about fabric samples. I went to the Yale Arts Library. They have the Beer and Color collection there. And I just through all these boxes of fabric samples and paint chips and stuff. And it evolved into this project about my domestic space and about the clothes that I wear and the sheets that I sleep on and all this, and I don't really know, it was still kind of evolving, but I had kind of narrowed it down, and I even have a bit of it here. I don't know how easy it is for people to see me, but I had, I started making these sample books,
Wow.
of my stuff.
Beautiful.
And so, and then I would kind of, kind of impossible, but sort of playing around with, like, what do you do? How do you use your life as the raw materials for, like, some kind of a sample book, and who are you approaching? I see a question that's arrived, and I will address it in a second, but
we'll get to those at the end.
But I have now I've hit this thing where we're all at home, we're all at home. We're all, or I should say, those of us who are fortunate enough to stay at home are at home. Not everybody is able to stay at home. So I don't know what this book is anymore, because now now you're saying something else when you're talking about your domestic space than you were, even 3 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just like this book that I was just reading feels very different to read now. That
Right.
So and I don't think I can make a book about what's happening right this second. I think all of us need some time to figure out, what is happening, where is this going?
I know I had mentioned this earlier when the three of us were talking, but as I was reading through again the Radiant Republic this morning, sort of prepping and filming the video, I was just struck by how prescient the text really is. I mean, it's so, there are just certain sentences right now that resonate so much stronger than even when Maureen and I first looked at
Yeah.
the book as we were unpacking it for the exhibit.
Yeah.
Um,
I wish it didn't, you know.
yeah,
I had that same feeling. I kind of, I think it's uncomfortable for me to read it now, you know.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, and then there's, you know, there are mentions of, I know you didn't read much, but there's mentions of war and, you know, like fighting and, you know, like the people in our cities and, you know, interacting with the city, and it's eerie.
It's eerie, and I think the cyclical quality actually underscores that eeriness.
Yeah.
The repeating, the cycles.
Yeah.
It's powerful, but it's more powerful now, and it is uncomfortable. I get that. Yeah, truly amazing in that sense.
So, should we take a few questions from the audience?
That would be great.
Nice. Let's see. Oh, Linda Ekstrom has a great question. She asks, can you address your highly sculptural approach to artist books?
Yeah.
You're like, I can.
Oh, wait. Do it. I can't. I think every project kind of leads me in a particular direction, and I have to me, all my projects are very, very different. You know, I did a project about population mapping with a friend of mine a few years ago that has completely different subject matter. I mean, all of them are kind of, I don't know, there's connecting points between them. But no matter what I'm doing, I'm trying to think about what am I actually dealing with, and how can I kind of build a world around it that explains what I'm doing, or that kind of presents what I'm doing, or is having a conversation with some of the things that I'm thinking about. And so sometimes that turns into something super sculptural, like in this case, which is really, I mean, I never would have imagined that I'd be putting cement into a book, but there were ways that it seemed appropriate to do it. And once I thought of it, I thought, I really need to make it work, but I won't do it again. But then there are these other ways that, you know, the sample book project, like, it's really important to me that it has these structures. One of the reasons I went up to Yale was to see the structures of those sample books. And, you know, and I don't know what the book is going to look like down the road, and it may be very different than what I imagined it to be, but on the road that I was on before all of this happened, I was thinking about kind of relying on the structure of a sample book to kind of give someone a, you know, you're putting someone in a world in that moment, right? Yeah. They think they know what they're holding in their hands, and then the fun of it is to turn it into something unexpected. What that object is. And so I'm in the process, or I was in the process of trying to figure out how to take it from a certain thing and turn it into an uncertain thing. And so sometimes the answers to those are structural, and sometimes, you know, things have to have structural. I did a project with, well, I guess it was that population project called Figure Study few years ago, where I needed to have all this drafting film that needed to go together. And it's like, sometimes you just need to have a structural solution, or the whole book is going to fall apart, you know? So sometimes it's really just about use and practicality, and other times it's more about the kind of soul of the project and what form it sort of evolves into, if that answers the question, I hope.
Let's see, do we have any other questions that people would like to ask? I'm sure there are many questions. Typing. There's lots of hellos to you, Sarah.
Hello.
Oh. So Jessica Spring asks, what does Milo think of this book?
Milo, and I also, because I can see the chat, so I can see Sarah Nichols asking about audience too.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'll just pretend like the audience right now is Milo, and then I'll answer it more broadly. But Milo, what Milo sees is the cement casting. You know, he's totally. So we've done some casting together, which has been fun. So that's been fun. Who knows what all the shapes are and stuff. But when I think about audience in general, I you know, I just don't think about it. And I mean, I think about it a lot when the book is done, and I'm like terrified of what people are going to think about it. But when I'm working on it, it really is more about. I guess there's only one audience I have in mind in the moment that I'm working on it, and that is the people I'm talking to make sure I'm on the right track. So if I'm doing a book about chemistry, I'm talking to a chemist or a chemistry professor. If I'm doing a book about population mapping, I'm certainly talking to somebody who knows an awful lot about it, or collaborating with that person. And so in the process of working on this book, I was talking to people who had a background in philosophy. I actually met with a couple of different philosophers to talk about the project. I talked to the architecture professor that I mentioned before. I talked to all kinds of those. It was really important for me to make sure that to them, the project made sense. And so that's that audience, just to make sure that I'm on the right track and then I'm not making really foolish mistakes, Right. So that's the audience in the beginning. And then later, when the book is finished, then I worry,
I'm sure none of us know what you're talking about. Once you let it out into the world.
Yeah. So there was a question from Mary Jean about pricing and how this is a much larger conversation that I think as artists who make books and letterpress printers and fine artists, this is a huge conversation, but do you have personal guidelines for yourself about how you price your work and go about it?
It is hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
For me, it's like a kind of magical, I'm trying to make it not impossible to buy. I'm trying to make it not something that makes me feel like I'm giving my time away. Yeah. It's related to the edition size. It's related sometimes just to the physical size of the book. This book is $1,900. The most expensive book I've made. And I don't know if that's the right price, but that's the price that I feel like, because this book is so hard to make, so hard to, and it takes so long, all the steps, the sanding, the wood, putting the boxes together, casting the shapes, binding the book, even scoring that flax paper takes forever. I mean, the patterns are really small. I mean, it takes a long time. So, I'll be down here for a full day and I will just have spent the whole time scoring, So it's just such a time suck, in a way that it's my fault. I did it. But I couldn't possibly sell it for less than that. And so that's weird.
Remind me what your edition size is for this.
It's 50,
okay.
but that's kind of big. I kind of feel like it probably should have been 35 just because I'm so fatigued by making it right now that, and I don't know, like is it going to go to 50 places? I'm not sure. I think I'm going to, I've paused because I'm working on something else now, but I do have to make some because it has to go to a few places, which is great. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes my math is weird.
I guess we'll take one more question and then we'll wrap up. Amy Pombo asks, how do you keep track of research and ideas for long-term projects?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
Great question.
Yeah.
I have, boxes that I put things in, and, this book was about so many different things that kind of came together in the right way. And so I have stacks of things I'm trying to read, sometimes successfully and sometimes not successfully. And I have photographs that I take, and I have files on my computer. And when I'm designing a book, I usually do it in InDesign first, even if I then end up doing the process like more manually than that. And so InDesign is a good experimental place for me to kind of put things together and build the landscapes and stitch the photos together. So I have a lot of different like documents of that type that are in a folder. And sometimes I'll throw other things in there just to remind me. I have Word documents. I mean, it's not organized. It is a hot mess, and, you know, and then when I'm done, I put everything into these big banker boxes and I put them in my basement. And so it all goes there with all the mock-ups and the shapes and the polymer plates and everything. It just goes in these banker boxes because I can't just throw it away. So it is like I don't know, there's like the before side when it's alive.
Right.
And it's like this constantly shaping and shifting. And I actually have like lots of, I don't even know if you can, I'm going to tilt you, which is like a no-no because you see this in my gross thing, but I have like lots of clotheslines that I hang things up to keep things going. I do that when I'm designing, and I also do it when I'm editioning so that I have all of my master components in the same place and I can get to them quickly and I always know where they are. So there's like a living kind of time where the books are in motion, and then there's a dead time when they're done, and I put it in the banker's box, and that's
They go to cold storage.
Exactly. Yeah. So
It's funny that feeling, like being done with a project like that, and then it's like, I gotta make it just go. You know, like
the edition size too. It's like I kind of want to be done now. I didn't realize how much work this project was going to be physically, just demanding work. So I'm kind of feel like I'm over it a little bit, but I also I am proud of the book, so I want to do the edition. So, you know, I don't know. I have a lot of feelings.
50-50. Oh, it seems doable at the beginning.
On the outside of my powers.
Wow. Well, we've gone for 45 minutes, believe it or not. So I think what we'll do is, if it's okay with Sarah, we'll wrap up.
I was really hoping, you know, it's only 10:15 here. I was hoping to go to 12. No, I just wanted to say one more time that thank you so much for asking me to speak, and really thank all of you guys who I can't really see, but whose names I can see. Thank you for coming. It means a lot to me that you were willing to come and listen and come into this weird Zoom house, and I appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
so much for,
It's great. What I will say is, before we bid Sarah a fond farewell, next week, Maureen and I will be hosting Isabel Florian and Stephanie Russ of C Press in Montreal. So you can hop onto the Center for the Books website, www.sfcb, as in boy, .org. And if you just look under events, there's a webpage for next Wednesday's conversation. You can go straight to Eventbrite and register. So hopefully we'll see you guys next week. And again, thank you, Sarah, so much for joining us. It's been a huge treat. We're so honored. Thank you.